Well, hello everybody, BugEater64 here, and once again we're going to be in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and we're going to be flying the Airbus helicopter H160, the civilian. And that being said, this isn't so much about the flight of the helicopter. We're going to be doing a few things here. This is a test flight. We're going to be flying from an airport that no longer exists in Florida, the KDWS, which Stall Airfield. Now this is a short takeoff and landing airstrip that was used to be there, and it was the Disney World airport. It's right near Disneyland, or Disney World, I'm sorry, showing my West Coast vibes from many moons ago. But anyway, we're going to be getting into that, and we're going to be testing some replay. Microsoft Flight Simulator has been working, I guess, Sobo or Microsoft, with the FS Playground replay system. They want to add it to the list that shows up on your screen for all the different programs that you can open up and use while you're in the simulator. Unfortunately, I've run into a problem. I used to use it all the time for my takeoffs and landings to do replays and be able to do picture-in-picture, things like that. Unfortunately, I've run into a problem since the latest update. I don't know if it is the Microsoft update or if it is something to do with FS Playground and their latest update. But every time I try to use the replay, right now it is crashing either itself or the entire sim back to desktop. So with that, I'm also going to be doing more testing of my flight control replay system, which I've recently updated, and so we're going to give it a try. So this is actually going to be a video of two different flights, very short. They're 22 miles long, and the first flight, again, from KDWS, which is Disney World, to Orlando. So, 22 miles. So we're going to be doing that. The thing that I really enjoy with this flight is just how beautiful this portion of Florida is. And Microsoft Flight Simulator just does an excellent job when you're in low levels, showing nature and buildings and so on. It's gorgeous. So with that, let's get in the sim and let's get started with the flight. Catch you inside. Alrighty, so here we are inside the H160, and right now started out with my Tobii Headtracking, and it's working okay, but we're gonna turn it off and we'll periodically turn it back on. But right now, just going to work on some things. Now, these that I'm just bringing up, one is the MSFS2020 automatic FPS free add-on, and then also Smooth Flight, which is another free add-on which does the same thing. It helps control your FPS in the sim primarily while you're in VR. I'm not using VR today, but I wanted to put them up there to show that it can still show that the FPS is working. Now, the auto FPS, it primarily changes the quality or density of the clouds in it to lower it down, and some of your ground structures and things like that to help keep the FPS higher. You set, and there's plenty of videos out there to explain it, but it sets the a target FPS and then tries to maintain that. Because my system is a little older, and I've got mine set at 30. My target range is 30 FPS when in VR. And in Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially, that does give me a smooth frame rate. So with that, this is my very first flight in this helicopter, so we're just going to go ahead and get her ready for takeoff.
Kilo Delta Whiskey Sierra traffic H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra taking off runway Tree 4 departure to the north.
So and I'm not going to be worried about my GTN 750s being turned on or anything like that. I just want to get the helicopter basically set up and ready to take off. So on this flight, I'm in parking spot number 1.
November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra is taxiing to runway Tree 4.
In the second flight, which we'll see in a few minutes, I'll be taking off from spot number 4. Yeah, those are my... So not in this video, but at a later date, I'm going to do a flight in the 160 proper and do it with the manually starting everything. But today, being a test flight, I just wanted to get it flight ready. I'm not too worried about my flight plan, because I know it's just 22 miles away. Alright, so let's turn the tablet back to the main page. Alright, so looks like we are ready to go here. Alright, so gonna hope that I see how this thing reacts to control input. Cloudy day, but no rain yet. We are in Florida, so she's a little bit wobbly on ground handling. Likes to tip a little bit, so it's. But for a first flight, as long as we don't break blades off, I'll be happy. Whoa! Okay, a little over control there. Let's see if we can bring her back around. Okay, luckily this is an uncontrolled airport, so nobody saw that except maybe the ground crew guy, but, you know, hey. He's not a flyer anyway. Okay, so actually going to be taking off from runway 16. Okay, yeah, it's not really. Alright, so let's add more collective. Do not want to run into trees. Okay, so we'll get up a little bit and then we will make a left turn.
Orlando approach H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra is type H160 1 miles southeast of Kilo Delta Whiskey Sierra 700 feet. Request clearance to transition Bravo airspace.
H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra Orlando approach. Squawk 0406.
Squawk 0406 H167 Whiskey Sierra.
H167 Whiskey Sierra radar contact 2 miles southeast of Kilo Delta Whiskey Sierra 900 feet.
She doesn't
Clear
look
to the
happy.
Bravo airspace. Maintain all navigation.
Cleared through the Bravo airspace H167 Whiskey Sierra.
Okay, so here we are approaching the airport.
Orlando Tower H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra is 4 miles west 1,000 feet with Sierra to land.
H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra Orlando Tower. Altimeter 29.9er 2 wind 277 at 5. Enter left traffic runway tree 6 left.
Make left traffic runway tree 6 left H167 Whiskey Sierra. Clear to land runway tree 6 left H167 Whiskey Sierra.
It's amazing, it keeps calling out terrain, and yet I'm not even close to running into anything, not even the ground. But okay, she's talkative. At least she's got a decent voice. Alright.
Caution, terrain.
Coming into our assigned runway this time, which is always a plus.
Caution, terrain.
Yes, 36 left. And the most difficult part of flying any helicopter is, for me, landing. So let's see if we can get it on the ground safely.
Caution, terrain. Caution, terrain.
H167 Whiskey Sierra, exit runway when able.
Vertical speed 122, side slip 5.0. Vertical speed 122, side slip 5.0. Vertical speed 205, side
Okay,
slip
so I picked it up and
5.0.
set it back down. Shush. Don't need her to tell me that I was being sloppy.
H167 Whiskey Sierra, turn next taxiway.
Okay, but the next taxiway is at the end of the bloody runway. But this is just a test anyway, so that's why I'm doing this. Normally I wouldn't even have landed on the runway. I'm a helicopter. I would have requested permission to land elsewhere.
H167 Whiskey Sierra, exit runway when able.
Okay, so we'll come down here to the end of the runway, make a left turn.
H167 Whiskey Sierra, turn next taxiway.
And we'll pull over here and park it. starting to get the hang of the ground handling on this. Still a little bit wobbly on the ground. But that's just me not being used to this particular bird. Okay, yeah, we're just going to pull right up here and park, call it a day. So I wasn't able to use the FS Playground replay system, and ergo that's why we didn't have picture-in-picture. So we will be using the flight control replay, and as we can see right now, you can look and see what my frame rates are, and they're below my target on both of them for the most part, and I'm not using VR, so that's just Microsoft and its issues. Low frame rates evidently in this area, and the aircraft caused problems. Alright, so our second flight, where we're going to use the flight control replay system, things will be a little bit better. Although my flying may not be any better, but let's go ahead and get things started with here. Okay, pull up our aircraft, and that's all looking. Okay, so let's do the same thing. We're just going to auto start it.
Kilo Delta Whiskey Sierra traffic H160 November tree 27 Whiskey Sierra taking off runway tree 4 departure to the north.
So everything's on that needs to be on to fly the bird, but not for navigational purposes. My GTN 750s, those panels are not on in this flight, just like the first one. So pretty ready to go.
Kilo Delta Whiskey Sierra traffic H160 November tree 27 Whiskey Sierra taking off runway tree 4 straight out departure. And I am taking off. This flight also exactly the same as
the last one in that I'm using parking spot 1. I did a third flight, which I didn't record, where I started at parking spot 4. And I manually started the aircraft. Again, at a later date, I will do a real flight in this aircraft that will be longer and incorporate navigation and autopilot systems. This one was, these two first flights ever were done hand flying the aircraft, which was great fun. I love hand flying it. Alright, so let's get on our way. Gonna move a little to the left so we don't hit the big light pole. And the collective is not really adding enough lift quickly enough, and that's why we just bounce the tires off. Alright, let's get up over the trees. Okay.
Caution, terrain.
Yeah, well, we were getting a little bit low there. Could have hit a tree. Alright, landing gear coming up. And we will head towards our destination, Orlando International. She still gives me dirty looks. I just don't understand. I gave her a job as a co-pilot and she still gives me dirty looks. Although she does make an awesome cup of coffee. I will admit that. She's really good at that. Not yet. Alright, so here we are, enjoying the beautiful area around Orlando, Florida. So, and as always, it won't take long to cover our 22 miles. We're carrying workers to the airport. Scattered clouds have been this way all day here in Florida, and as you can see, it is 2:18 p.m. right now.
Orlando approach H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra is type H160 2 miles north of 25 Foxtrot Delta 400 feet. Request clearance to transition Bravo airspace.
H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra Orlando approach. Squawk 5 Tree 52.
Squawk 5 Tree 52 H167 Whiskey Sierra.
H167 Whiskey Sierra radar contact 3 miles northeast of 25 Foxtrot Delta 500 feet. Cleared through the Bravo airspace. Maintain own navigation. H167 Whiskey Sierra, did you hear my last transmission?
Oh yeah, I heard you.
Cleared through the Bravo airspace H167 Whiskey Sierra. Orlando Tower H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra is 3 miles west 500 feet with Sierra to land.
H160 November Tree 27 Whiskey Sierra Orlando Tower. Altimeter 29er, 2 wind 277 at 5. Make left downwind runway tree 6 left.
Make left traffic runway tree 6 left H167 Whiskey Sierra.
H167 Whiskey Sierra, wind 277 at 5. Cleared to land runway tree 6 left.
Cleared to land runway tree 6 left H167 Whiskey Sierra.
Okay, so this time we're going to take a little wider turn. Maybe get a better angle on the approach. Tobii Headtracking is back on. Okay, so we're actually going to end up landing on runway 35 left instead of 36. I took it a little wider turn than I was supposed to. But here we go. And hopefully we'll do a little better job than we did the first flight. Actually, could have just gone down the taxiway, but I'm gonna be a good boy. At least halfway.
Caution, terrain.
I'm gonna land on the wrong runway, but okay, so looks approach pretty good. Landing gear down and locked.
Warning, obstacle.
What obstacle? I don't know what this computer is seeing that I'm not seeing, but there is no obstacle other than the ground coming up. So the emergency messaging is
Caution, terrain.
not quite up to snuff. But it keeps me alert. When she speaks, I listen, and let's see if we can set this thing down nice and easy. Not the easiest.
H167 Whiskey Sierra, contact ground on 129.65.
129.65 H167 Whiskey Sierra. Goodbye.
Alright, let's go find a place to park this girl. Okay, off the runway. She's very tippy. Okay, we're just going to... I could take this taxiway all the way over to the other side of the airport, but we're not going to do that. We're going to park over here on the right. So, we get up here, we're going to make an abrupt right. It shows some of the elevation changes at the airport, because there's actually a pretty good little mound here. Which doesn't affect the big jets much, but this little helicopter, getting to the top of the hill, which is going to slow us down. So we're going to go over here. Tower building is, there's some stairs, and that's where we can drop off our workers. to the right. Alright, so we're going to park here. And the test on the second flight went very well. The replay system worked very well. So we're going to call it a day and welcome to Orlando. Well, as per normal, found out a few things. One, got to do a little more fine tuning on the controls. The H160 is a lot of fun to fly. It's a neat helicopter, and so enjoyed the flights there, and had a very good time. The H160 on ground handling, boy, these were my first 2 flights in this helicopter, and I've had it for a while. I just never flown it. And ground handling, I'm just going to have to really fine-tune some of my controls on that. The first flight, I forgot to turn off or disengage my parking brake, so that's why it did some silly stuff. And then on the second flight, I had a bit of an issue that my collective was not reacting quick enough, and that's why we ended up with problems. The cyclic's working fine, but the collective is a little bit slow on picking up the aircraft. So again, minor stuff that we'll have to deal with. The replay system in the first flight, couldn't use it. That was my FS Playground, and it didn't work at all. The replay system in the second flight, which is my flight control replay system, it worked fine this time. So really happy with that. Had fun with it, and learned a lot in doing it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, this is Bug Eater 64, and we will see you in the skies. The next flight is probably going to be my C-130 in X-Plane 12. So with that, see you next time, and as always, remember, do as I say, not as I do, and by all means, safe flying.